Released in 2004, Valve's Half-Life 2 has been at the top of many lists as one of the greatest first-person shooters ever made. It has a good story, great gameplay mechanics, and critics and fans both almost universally agree that it's just overall a fantastic game. As with most great games, Half-Life 2 has developed a large speedrunning scene, a group of gamers who race each other to see who can beat the game more quickly. And as with most speedruns, this game's run has changed drastically over time. Over the course of several years, we've gone from casually dashing through the game to pushing the game and its mechanics to their absolute limits. Let's look at the world record progression for Half-Life 2. When Half-Life 2 came out in 2004, it ran on the Source engine, which we know today as the old engine. This version of the game was filled with many exploits and glitches that were gradually discovered over the years, the most famous one probably being bunny hopping. This is a trick where you continuously jump in order to build up a bunch of speed, causing you to move much more quickly than normal. Hardly anybody did speedruns of Half-Life 2 at this point in time, but that all changed after 2010, when Valve updated the Half-Life 2 engine. This new engine, known as, well, the new engine, fixed some glitches in the old engine, but also created new ones. I'll get into that a bit more later, but the release of the new engine created a divide. There were now two categories that could be ran. People could play on the old engine or the new engine. And if you go to look at the Half-Life 2 leaderboards on speedrun.com today, you would see that one of these categories became much more popular than the other. The new engine has been ran much more than old engine, and as a result, the record has been progressed far further. So, for this video, I'm only going to be focusing on the new engine category. We'll start by going back to early 2013. While there had been some speedruns live races of the game that had been done before this point, none of them were recorded, and it's hard to say for sure if they were done on the old or the new engine. But the first run with definitive video proof was done by MooseGuy on January 4th, 2013. MooseGuy's first task was to skip his way through the cutscenes that always appear at the start of the game. Unlike most games, Half-Life 2 allows you to play through the cutscenes, still letting you move around and pick up objects while the NPC talks and walks through the rooms. However, whenever you pick up an object, such as a book or a barrel, and drop it onto the NPC's head, it sometimes teleports them forward, skipping the time that it would take for them to walk there. The game doesn't care that there's an object blocking the NPC's way, they just know that they need to get from point A to point B, so it will try to get them there no matter what. While this trick was relatively easy to do in the old engine, it appears that they partially fixed it in the new engine. It was much harder for MooseGuy to get the teleports, but he still found some success with it. After going through these cutscenes, MooseGuy got on with playing the game. As he moved through into more open areas, he utilized a trick known as ABH, or accelerated backhopping. You see, when Valve attempted to fix bunny hopping with the new engine, they accidentally broke it even more. MooseGuy jumped forward and then turned around in midair. He then continued jumping backwards as soon as he landed. The game was trying to slow him down by adding negative speed, but since he was already moving backwards, all it did was added more speed to him moving backwards. So he was able to fly through a lot of sections by just using ABH. And a lot of sections of the game just required a bunch of creativity, such as right here, when he wanted to jump over this gate that stopped him from progressing through the game. By launching off this rock at a precise angle, it's possible to land just right so that you can just barely make it over the wall. It took MooseGuy multiple tries to get tricks like this to work. Despite heavily abusing tricks like ABH, MooseGuy really didn't use too many glitches in his run. It was mainly just him using it to gain incredible speed, and use it to run into objects in just the right way so that he could fly up and skip through parts of the game. That, of course, combined with incredible skill to fly through parts of the game that he did have to play as quickly as possible. All in all, MooseGuy finished with a time of 2 hours, 37 minutes, and 58 seconds. A very impressive start for sure, but I don't think anybody, including MooseGuy, could have predicted the lengths to which the speedrun would evolve over the following years. Unfortunately for MooseGuy, this would be the only time he would hold the Half-Life 2 world record, and he only had it for about 2 months. By March of 2013, runner SpaceDad got a hold of the record, and he took it down by 3 minutes to 2 hours and 34 minutes. He didn't really do that much differently from MooseGuy, but he was able to save some time by reducing the amount of saves and loads that you need to do. You can save your game right before attempting to do a difficult trick in Half-Life 2, so that if you miss it, you can reload it right up and start from right before the trick to get another shot at it. Then you can repeat until you're finally able to get the trick to work. Since Space Dad was able to get many tricks more quickly, he was able to save some time over Moose Guy. But April 2013 was a bit of a special month for Half-Life 2. Runner Tomsk45 decided that he was going to try to take over the category, and he looked into doing one of Half-Life 2's most famous tricks, prop climbing. By repeatedly jumping and using an item along a wall, you're able to fly up the wall and sometimes get on top of it. And occasionally, as seen here, it can allow you to be on top of the entire stage, and let you skip right to the end of it. Using this throughout the game, it allowed Tomsk45 to completely control the Half-Life 2 record for the month.
Bro, because there's
Bam.
the kind of...
Nice. Oh my god. Yes! Finally! Knew it was possible. I knew it. Ah, nice. 2:27:39. On the wrong side. This is the right place, isn't it? Yeah. I got that first go. Yeah. 2:25:45.
Wow, nice.
Nice.
326.
6 world records later, at the end of April, he had taken the record down by 9 minutes, breaking the record every few days on average. Tomsk's rapid regression of the record sent a message that he was a force to be reckoned with. But he wouldn't last long. New engine speedruns of Half-Life 2 were still fairly new, and their run could still be optimized. A man named PYKN realized this, and using largely the same strategies as Tomsk, lowered the record 2 more times in the matter of just 2 days.
Oh my god, it is! Yes!
Come on, Gordon. We've got to get out of here. Maybe we still have...
He lowered the record 6 more minutes, to 2 hours and 19 minutes. But one runner had had enough. His name was Sully JHF. Sully already had the reputation of being really good at another Valve game, Portal, holding the world record in that game multiple times. Once he began to run Half-Life 2, he was a natural at that as well. And on May 12, 2013, just 3 days after PYKN got his 219, Sully broke his record by 33 seconds and continued to lower the record down more and more in the coming weeks. But there's a little problem with Sully. Almost none of his records exist anymore. Sully used to livestream his Half-Life 2 attempts on Twitch. When most people get a world record when they're streaming,
Oh my gosh! I don't even know!
they make a highlight of it later, which is essentially saving it to your Twitch page so it never gets automatically deleted by Twitch. Unfortunately, Sully never highlighted his world records, and when Twitch deleted all of his past broadcasts a few years ago, nearly all footage of his world records were deleted as well. So we're left in a very strange spot today. Hundreds of people saw him do these runs live back in 2013, but nobody on Earth can still see these runs today. The only evidence we have of them is from Reddit posts, or the occasional screen cap picture, like this one that somebody took when he first got the record with 2 hours, 19 minutes, and 16 seconds. From what Half-Life 2 runners have pieced together through posts on Reddit, Sully somehow managed to beat the world record 4 times in a matter of 6 days in May of 2013. Nobody knows exactly what strategies he used, where he saved and lost time, or anything that wasn't the final time of the run. How much was he abusing prop climbing? Or ABH? Were there any other tricks he used that nobody knew about? Regardless, by the end of it, Sully had taken the record down to 2 hours, 13 minutes, and 24 seconds. While we can't see his footage today, Sully was hailed as an absolute beast of Half-Life 2, and taking him down would be an enormous challenge for any other player. A couple of months later, in July, a project that the Source Runs team had collectively been working on for years was released. Half-Life 2 done with the high magnitude of velocity. It was a run of the game cut up into 200 segments, where somebody would record that 120th of a game over and over until it was as fast as it could possibly be, and then repeat that for the other 199 segments that they cut the game up into. A group of 14 runners collectively helped make these 200 segments, and when added up, the time ended up being 1 hour and 27 minutes. This, of course, is not considered a new engine world record, because it was split up into so many segments and done by so many different runners. One of those runners being Gocnak. Gocnak had been working on the segmented run for months, so he had some inside knowledge of strategies that he could use in a single segment run to lower Sully's 2 hour 13 minute world record. So he began to run single segment, and he got the world record by 3 minutes very quickly.
Time.
The world record was 10 minutes away from being 2 hours. Gocnak and Sully both had the capability to get it, and they both obviously wanted it. So that July, they went back and forth, pushing the record closer and closer to the 2 hour mark.
My 30 seconds. But...
Oh shit!
Oh. Sub 204.
Yep.
Yes!
Oh shit.
Oh god! Sub 2 is a lot easier.
And the reason I blame Steve is because I was reading his thing.
Sentence, and it's just hilarious to me.
Wow. Dark.
Sub 2. 1 hour, 57 minutes, and 45 seconds. The 2 hour barrier had been breached, and Gocnak was the first one to get there. In the description of that run, he noted that theoretically, somebody could take some more time off the run, noting that a perfect run would probably be under 1 hour and 55 minutes. Here's the thing about speedrunners. We like to set these arbitrary goals that we think a time can't go under. And we like to say that even if a game is spedrun forever, nobody will ever get under that time. And in 100% of the cases I've seen, somebody always ends up going under that time. Meet OVC.
Okay, I didn't know.
55:30?
I'm pretty sure if you casual the fucking.
Oh my god.
Nice.
Nice.
Wow. That's ridiculous.
So.
While he may not have gotten sub 155, less than a month after Gocnak claimed that 155 would require a perfect run, he was able to get within seconds of it. Perhaps this served as a bit of a wake-up call to Gocnak. Sub 155 was his calling. He had to get it. His execution was getting better, he used fewer save and loads, and his movement was stellar. He had what it took for sub 155. It was just a matter of time. In October 2013, he got within 6 seconds of it. Disappointing in a way, but a world record nonetheless.
You had better orbs.
World record.
But a month later, it seemed like it was finally going to happen. It was coming down to the wire.
No! No! Fuck!
Get your ass whooped!
I'm fucking done. God damn it! No.
1 second away. He was a minute ahead before his last split, but lost time trying to do a trick known as prop flying with this statue, where you use an explosion and a prop to launch you way up into the air. It took him several tries of saving and loading to get it to work. And apparently, 3 days after getting this run, he somehow managed to get a 155 flat. Yeah, he PB'd by 1 more second without getting sub 155. He was so angry that he didn't even highlight the run, so it can't be viewed today. Luckily for him though, a week after that, he got this run.
Is this sub 153? Yes. Yes, it is. It is.
Maybe we still have time?
Mr. Freeman? Yes! Fuck yes! Ah, yeah. This feels so good. Glod! Fucking Glod!
Look at those splits. Literally everywhere was either green or gold. Green meaning he was ahead of his pace, and gold meaning it was the fastest segment he had ever done. Finally, Gocnak was satisfied. Over the course of a few months in 2013, he and a few other runners had taken the run all the way down to 1 hour and 52 minutes. Gocnak didn't want to try to lower it anymore, and nobody was up to the task of challenging him. A couple of months later though, in February 2014, something big was discovered. The displacement clip. In the scrapyard, the player would use prop flying to launch themselves on top of the map, pick up the barrel from down below, and chuck it off into the distance. They would then prop climb up a wall and get into the perfect position. From there, the player repeatedly crouches, saves and loads, and eventually clips into the tunnel, skipping much of the area and saving several minutes. This discovery led to Gocnak, and another player, FFATV, ultimately taking the record down 5 more minutes, to 1 hour and 47 minutes. It was around this time, in April 2014, that SourceSplit was released. Created by Fatalis, SourceSplit is splitting software that automatically pauses whenever the game is loading. This commonly occurs between each new area that you have to load, and can vary from run to run. So to account for this random difference in timing, runners began to time their runs without loads using SourceSplit. The result was runs that were a few minutes faster than they used to be. If this wasn't enough, Margin64 found out a way to make certain props lose collision. In fact, I'll just let YouTuber Low1TS explain this one to you.
So pretty much, you want to get that table stuck in that door, like that. It'll hit the door or make it lose collision, you crouch into it, you move around, you'll get stuck. Then you'll save load, you'll get into the floor, and now you are in the room after the thing. You just keep save loading. It's just like the Eli O2 skip. And now you're done.
This trick had the potential to save time in several places, and could save minutes off of the run. When timed without loads, Gocnak had the record at 1 hour 44 minutes in April 2014. He had the potential to lower it with prop clipping, but how far could he, with some help from the rest of the community, take it? Remember that old segmented run? Half-Life 2 done with a high magnitude of velocity? That run was 1 hour, 27 minutes, 51 seconds. Surely nobody could beat that segmented run, which took a dozen runners 200 segments to do in multiple years, all on his own, right?
Yes! 140, 18. 39, 14.
Ooh, nice job! Holy shit!
That's funny. Also, world record by almost a minute. Not bad. Nice.
What? What? 7.
37?
Yeah, 134, 37.
Oh.
Okay, cool. So 133, 30. Oh, 132.01. Oh, that's not 129. Barely, but it is sub 128.
It's
seems as if you only just arrived. You've done a great deal in a small time span.
I just want to say it was really fun for the last year to have subbed the segmented run that got me into speedrunning. It's over, I guess. And I'm gonna be taking a break. I'm gonna be taking a break for a year. That graph is a little bit ugly, but that's okay. I wouldn't have it any other way. This is where I get off.
About 20 world records later, Gocnak had completed one of the most unbelievable streaks of dominance that has ever been seen in speedrunning. And at the end of it was a run that was faster than the legendary segmented run, although it would eventually be retimed to be slower due to a rule change in the future. He said himself he was going to take a break for at least a year from running Half-Life 2, and his records just seemed too daunting to challenge. Finally, Half-Life 2 had been pushed to its extreme. As the months passed, players began to search. Maybe Gocnak wasn't unbeatable. Half-Life 2 was a really long game. There must be something that could be done to beat him. In June 2015, when Gocnak was in the middle of his world record streak, speedrunner Chili and Such discovered a way that you could clip through the ground using a bed in Prison 06. The problem was you needed to put the bed in an extremely precise spot for the trick to work, and if you didn't get it to work, it would kill you. So Gocnak didn't use it in his runs. But after Gocnak was done, in December 2015, players revisited the trick, and a person named Rama figured out a new method of clipping known as void clipping. If you saved again just as the game finished loading during a clip, your velocity would be preserved. Ultimately, this made the bed clip in Prison 06 much easier, and using this trick with the bed clip could save up to 4 minutes. Chili and Such, who discovered the bed clip in the first place, decided that he might as well try to beat Gocnak since he could save 4 minutes with that one trick alone. And on December 15th, 2015, Chili became the first person in nearly a dozen world records to knock Gocnak off the top spot in Half-Life 2 with 1 hour and 26 minutes. But he didn't highlight it. Are you kidding me? He just got the world record for the first time ever and he didn't even bother highlighting it? Why on earth would he do... Oh, because he beat that run on his very next run by about 2 minutes.
That's on the record again. Thank you for the follow. Yeah, that double world record though.
So yeah, Chili and Such ended up being incredibly good at Half-Life 2. From January 2016 through September 2016, he went on a rampage, improving the record 7 more times, down to 1 hour and 15 minutes. This was partially thanks to more methods of clipping being discovered, allowing the player to clip out of the train at the start of the game and skip part of Canals 03. Since then, a few more players have come and gone. deathwingua and Rain TNT brought the record down to 1:14 and 1:13 respectively, but as recently as September 8th, 2017, Chili and Such was able to get it back once more.
Oh, actually it is! It is! No way! It is world record! No fucking way! No fucking way!
And that is the world record progression for Half-Life 2. Half-Life 2 definitely has one of the most unique histories of any game that has ever been spedrun. Most games had a history that started a long time ago, with gradual changes to the world record that happened over a large period of time. Half-Life 2, on the other hand, only started in about 2013. But since then, there's been about 70 world records, and the total time of the run has literally been cut in half. We're down to 1 hour and 13 minutes right now, but who knows what this game has in store for the future. Are we going to eventually see a run under 1 hour at some point? Thanks for watching.